Speaker number 7, Rich Hopkins. What we knew then. What we knew then, Rich Hopkins.
Shh, I'm sleeping. But somebody's watching me, pulling at my beard, sticking tiny little fingers up my nose. Who's there? Good morning, Daddy! 3-year-old Rachel jumps on the bed. Good morning! Mr. Contest Chair, ladies and gentlemen, good morning for whom? Rachel Daisy, go back to bed. But she just stares back at me with those bright, hope-filled eyes. Daddy, come play with me. Fine. I get up and I trudge down the hallway, soon to be greeted by my own tired, frustrated eyes in the finger-smudged mirror. I'm nearly 40 years old. I've got 5 kids, driving a broken-down minivan with a job that's about as exciting as an Excel spreadsheet. It's sneaking up on me. Middle age. I'm overwhelmed with depression and despair and the insane desire to go test drive a cherry red Mustang convertible. Hurry up, Daddy. She's back. Tag, you're it. Tag, I'm it. Tag, I'm it. I start to remember what I was like when I was her age, when I didn't dread each day, when I was Dickie Jr. Let's play Finish the Cliche. If only we knew then what we know now. Very good. How much more successful you'd be. How much more you would have accomplished. But wait a minute. What if? Help me turn this upside down. What if we knew now what we knew? Oh, you're great. What if we knew now what we knew then? If we approached life with the persistence and passion we had then? If we saw life with the perspective of a child? My 5-year-old daughter, Riley, she explains to me the miracle of life wide-eyed. Oh, Daddy, first it starts as an egg, and then it becomes a caterpillar and a chrysalis. And she says chrysalis. And then you wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. Butterfly! When was the last time you saw the extraordinary in the ordinary? What if we lived now with the passion we had then? My son Braden, he loves dinosaurs. They're all over his sheets and his pajamas, his underwear. They're scattered all over the floor, spikes up. Now you know why I walk this way. Daddy, when I grow up, I want to be a paleoentomologist. And he says, paleoentomologist. But will he? How many passions have you pushed aside for the sake of growing up? What if you asked now with the persistence you had then? Daddy, Daddy, can I have a popsicle? No. Daddy, Daddy, can I have a popsicle, please? No. Oh, Daddy, please. I'll love you forever. Fine, just take it outside. How to be a kid again when no wasn't the final answer. It just meant ask again. When was the last time you asked for what you wanted? Have we stopped? Too afraid the answer will be no, especially from ourselves? Now, I know what you're thinking. Rich, I don't want a better approach to life. I just want a better life. I understand. How dare a motivational speaker get up here and tell you to alter your perspective? Well, fine. I won't. But Dickie Jr., he'll triple dog dare you. See the extraordinary. Live passionately. Ask again and again and again. How will that change your life? He sees you out there squirming in your seats. The Christy Juniors and Tommy Juniors and Billy Juniors. It's time to stop sitting around, to come out and play. Come on, get up, stand up with me. I mean it, out of your chairs, hands in the air. All right, it's time to wake yourselves up. Jump on the bed of your life and shout with me, good morning! Ha ha! Tag, you're it! Mr. Contest Chair.
Our final speaker this morning, Douglas Wilson. Defining Moments. Defining Moments, Douglas Wilson.
I was high in an oak tree, sawing limbs for my dad. I was 9 years old and I was fearless. Dad was supervising the operation from the ground on the other side of the fence. Zupa, zupa, zupa. I got it, Dad. Okay, Douglas, come on down. And be careful. Sure, Dad. Crack! Have you ever noticed that life-changing events always seem to happen in slow motion? My life flashed in front of my eyes like a movie. It was a short movie. I'm only 9 years old. I caught my leg on the last branch on the tree, and it slammed me against the tree. I hung there stunned. Mr. Contest Chairman. Fellow Toastmasters. Help. My dad leaped over the fence, lifted me from the branch, and held me close and tight. I thought I'd lost you. I love you, son. And I love you too, Dad. I wasn't fearless anymore. This was a defining moment. On Wednesday night, Mark Sanborn talked about defining moments. We all have them. They shape our lives, and we believe that they define who we are. When I was in high school, I entered my first speech contest. My dad had been a speech coach in college, so I asked him to coach me. Every time I'd start to give a line, he'd stop me. Say it like this. Gesture like this. I never got to give the whole speech. Dad, whose speech is this? Yours or mine? Yours. He gave me my speech and left the room. On my big day, in front of 300 people, I stood to deliver my perfect speech. Suddenly, my mind sat back down. And my audience disappeared into a black, inky void. It seemed like I stood there forever. When my vision cleared, I could see my dad. And the look of disappointment on his face. That was a defining moment. I had failed. When I went to college, I dreamed of being a pilot, just like my dad. I would get my degree, become an Air Force officer, go to pilot training. My dad was brilliant, and so was I. So brilliant that I knew I could pass those difficult college courses without attending class. Now that's a defining moment. I was kicked out of school, and I stopped believing in myself. I thought that Dad would invite me to stay at home. Oh, he invited me, all right. He invited me to join the military. In the Air Force, I earned my commission as a second lieutenant. As an officer, I renewed my dream to become a jet pilot. I grew up in an airplane, so pilot training was simple at first. When we entered advanced jet training, I started to falter. And then just before an important flight exam, my instructor gave me a pink slip. Now in business, a pink slip means you're fired. Here it meant you don't measure up. My instructor told me, Douglas, I don't think you can do this. Well, he got my attention. My dream was in peril. This was a defining moment. But I was determined. I was committed to be a jet pilot. I will not be defined by his words. I will not be defined by my doubts. And I will not be defined by his pink slips. I worked even harder. I visualized flying that perfect flight. And when that flight exam arrived, it happened just the way I had imagined it in my mind hundreds of times before. Graduation day was on my dad's birthday. I was a distinguished graduate. I could see the look of pride in his eyes. This was our defining moment. These moments shape our lives. They happen in an instant when we least expect them. And they change us forever. We too often define ourselves through our failures when we should define ourselves by even our smallest successes. I have learned we can choose how we let our defining moments change our lives. Dad, will you pin on my wings? I love you, son. I love you too, Dad. Mr. Contest Chair.
Speaker number 6, Ed Hearn. Bouncing back. Bouncing back, Ed Hearn.
Mr. Contest Chair, Toastmasters, and guest, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was 8 years old and I was given the greatest gift that any child could ever want. It was an inflated punching bag. It stood about 4 feet high and I punched it every day. I loved that gift because at that time I believed that I could be the heavyweight champion of the world. And that was a great gift because every time I punched it, it fell to the ground. It was also a great opponent because it did not punch back. But it was also a great metaphor for life. You see, all of us in life will go through times where we will get punched in the face. Sometimes we'll get tilted and knocked off balance. At other times, we'll be punched completely to the ground. But life is only about 10% about what happens to you. The other 90% is what are you going to do about it? And what is your strategy for bouncing back? Yes, I played with that punching bag every day of my childhood. And then one day it happened. I was set upon by my arch enemy in life, my younger brother Ricky. My spoiled younger brother Ricky. He was the kid who was born to my mother when she was 48 years of age after she had had 10 other children, of which I was the youngest. Every argument that I had with my younger brother that involved a toy ended with my mother uttering the same words, G-I-T-T-B, give it to the baby. Ooh, that used to pierce my soul. There were times when I wanted to go up to my mother and father and say, hey guys, I know you've been married a long time, but if you had exercised some restraint later in life, I would be the baby. So on this particular day, I said, Ma, it's my punching bag. And she relented. She told my spoiled younger brother Ricky, let him play with it, Rick. And I smiled and punched my bag. But my spoiled younger brother was not to be outdone. Later that day, while I was watching television, he did it. He took a sharp object and punctured my punching bag. He murdered it. Later, when I found my punching bag, it was nothing but a lifeless heap of plastic. And I went to Mom and I said, Mom, my bag, it's been murdered. She said, oh, it's only a bag, honey. I'll buy you another one. Throw it away. As I walked to the garbage can with my punching bag. I didn't know what was worse. The fact that my favorite toy had been murdered, the fact that my spoiled brother Ricky didn't even get in trouble for doing it. And I walked to the garbage can. As I walked, something entered my mind. As I was going to throw away the bag, I thought to myself, I wonder what it is about this bag that every time you punch it, it bounces back. You knock it down, it bounces back. And I had a thought that perhaps the answer was inside of the bag. And so I went to the kitchen and I got a knife and I cut the bag open, and guess what I found? At the base of that bag was a weight shaped in a bowl-like shape. And it anchored it to the ground. And the symmetry and design of that bowl was such that no matter how you tilted it, it bounced right back up. And when I found it, I said, wow. And backwards, that is, wow. Well, I figured, hey, I'll throw away the bag, but I'm keeping this bowl, man. Look at this thing. I held on to it and I put my marbles in it, and it became my treasured toy. And when I became a teenager, I even gave that bowl a name. I called it the Bounce Back Bowl. And I decided I was going to make money on it. I even made a commercial about it. Tilt it hard, tilt it light. It doesn't matter, it stands upright. The Bounce Back Bowl. I could see millions in my mind with this bowl. But then little things like patent and trademark infringement got in the way. You know what I mean? Would you believe that that bowl became as treasured to me even as the punching bag itself? Because every time I tilted it, it would tilt and come back. Tilt and come back. Would you even believe that to this very day, I still have my bounce back bowl? It sits right on my desk. And every now and then I'll punch it with my finger and watch it tilt and come back. And that bowl is still teaching me a vital lesson about life. Because friends, all of us are going to go through times where we're going to be socked in the face. The philosopher Viktor Frankl said, it's called unavoidable suffering. But it's still teaching me that life isn't so much about what happens to you. The real key to life is what in the world are you going to do about it? And most importantly, what is your strategy for bouncing back? Mr. Contest.
And now, the 2006 World Champion of Public Speaking is Ed Hearn.
Wow. And backwards, that's wow. I am just so elated to win such a wonderful honor. I have met so many wonderful people and so many wonderful speakers along the way. And I'm just happy at the regional speech or regional competition. I had two people ahead of me, and when they announced me as the winner, I was in the bathroom. I just thought, I'll get back before they give the guy the trophy, and I won. And so this is just a tremendous honor. I want to thank all of you, and I'm going to work hard to really honor Toastmasters as the greatest organization in the world. Thank you so very much.
You can have your pictures taken with Ed over there. This session is adjourned.
Our next speaker, Mark Hunter. Face to face, eye to eye, heart to heart. Face to face, eye to eye, heart to heart. Mark Hunter.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mark Hunter Show. On my show this morning, I have Paul. Paul is going to share his life with us all. He's 40-ish and single. He's been married 3 times before, to his iPod, plasma, and his car. In fact, Paul believes he's just another male who cannot commit. Welcome, Paul. Madam Contest Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, there are any number of reality television shows on which we can all share our lives. Supportive shows like Oprah and Dr. Phil, and if you're brave enough, Jerry Springer. But if you want to share your life and make a difference, stick to real reality. 2 writers living 100 years apart separately give us the reason to do this and the what to do. Stephen Covey says the essence of human fulfillment is to leave a legacy. And the poet Lord Tennyson tells us what legacy to leave. Ourselves in the hearts of others, so that we can become a part of all whom we meet. Wow! What an amazing legacy to leave. Our life woven into the life of another. You can't do that on a 60-minute reality television show with ads. No, it has to be done face to face, eye to eye, heart to heart. I first learnt the value of doing this about 6 or 7 years ago in, of all places, a dentist's waiting room. Now, when you go into such a room, you look for a seat. I look for a parking spot. Once parked, I noticed across the room a mother and her son. As I watched, the mother's eyes lifted from what she was reading, and I sensed a degree of discomfort as they landed on my set of wheels. She looked at everyone else in the room, checked on her son, and finally sought sanctuary in the well-fingered pages of a magazine. Her eyes never met mine. And my heart wanted to say, see me the person, not this the thing. I still encounter adults who are unable to look me in the eye, and when this happens, it frustrates me. But with children, it's different, isn't it? They just see it and speak it as it is. As did the boy in that room. He smiled at me, so I smiled back. Then secretly, I winked at him. And with the same sense of mischief and concealment, he winked back. Then I did what any mature 55-year-old would do. And he did just as you did. He laughed. His mother lifted her head from what she was reading and looked in the direction of her son's gaze. Once again, her eyes could not make it past my set of wheels, and my heart cried out, see me the person, not this the thing. But her eyes never met mine. So I turned to the boy, who smiled at me again. Only this time on his face, I could see what appeared to be the birth of a most important question. Lacking all the inhibitions of an adult, he shattered the silence of the waiting room with, hey, mister, Do you sleep in that thing? His mother's hand slipped quickly from the magazine she was reading, and whack, she slapped her son's bare leg. Her embarrassed eyes darted towards me, and I took them and held them. And for a moment we were face to face, eye to eye. I transferred from my chair to the now vacant seat beside me, and I said to the boy, "Do you want to try this?" He looked to his mother, who nodded nervously. Well, that boy raced across the room, settled himself into my chair, and pretended to snore loudly. His mother gave me her tear-filled eyes and a look I will never forget. One which said, without as much as a syllable being uttered, "My mind is at ease now. I can see what my son sees."